Hello, good evening. It's 1 a.m. in Jerusalem, Israel. 5 a.m. in Surabaya City is Java in Indonesia. And it's 10 p.m. here in Accra. I'm Stephen NT. This is News at 10. We'll start with a look at the news highlights for the day. 3 persons have lost their lives while more than 1,500 residents in the Ashanti region have been displaced following 6 days of rainfall. About 152 buildings, including schools, have also been destroyed over the period. On the first phase of the Malam Drain construction, which was scheduled to be completed within 13 days, is 98% complete. Though the duration has elapsed by a day, engineers are working tirelessly to make up for the day lost to the rain. And the John Kufour Endowment Fund has been launched in Accra. The fund will be used to support the completion of the Kufour Center for Leadership and Governance at the University of Ghana and also sustain the work of the foundation in carrying out its programs. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has threatened to embark on strike if government does not review its decision to withdraw some incentives due its members. Speaking at the launch of this year's International Nurses Day in Kumasi, President of the association, Kufuor, tasked government to restore tax waivers on imported cars for members and prioritize the employment of graduate nurses and midwives. Those were our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. You can also follow us on our Facebook page. Now, most women in Ghana find themselves in relationships which are difficult to define. Most of them who are in unformalized relationships are often victimized by society, while the law is silent. Now, as we celebrate women on Mother's Day, gender activists are calling for the implementation of existing laws that promotes the rights of women.
Having children with different spouses is a common thing in Ghana, though cultural norms frown upon it. Women are often the ones blamed for this, while they hustle to cater for the children. Auntie Sisi, a trader at Malamata Market, shares her story. She's a widow with some children from her previous marriage. She got nothing during the sharing of the property of the late husband. The family took everything from me. I had to relocate to my village to start life afresh, and yet there was no one to turn to. Other women shared similar experiences. Women are really suffering. You have children with men and they just wouldn't take responsibility, and yet you are seen as the bad one. A gender activist, Dinah Diko, is appalled at this.
Whether she has 10 children by 10 men, each child has a father. So I think it has very little to do with how she lived her life, maybe, but more to do about fathers taking up their responsibility.
The Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA Ghana, explains that the law recognizes only 3 types of marriage: marriage by ordinance or wedding, customary marriage, which is now referred to as engagement, and the Mohammedan marriage, also referred to as the Muslim marriage.
Women should do their due diligence. Once the man is married under the ordinance, they should make sure that they stay away. Unless the man insists that he's divorcing the wife, they should make sure that the divorce is done before they enter into that relationship, because there are property rights associated with all these things we are talking about.
She advised women to be cautious when entering into relationships.
The laws do not adequately protect you at this time. There's a bill where most women advocates are really pushing for this form of relationship to be recognized in our laws, because the reality is that it's a critical mass.
As we celebrate Women on Mother's Day, gender activists are calling for the implementation of various laws that protect women.
Domestic violence is very high in this country against women without disability, against women living with disability, against women living with HIV and AIDS, against all kinds of women. And we would want the law to work.
It's very simple. It will come with a strong political will and commitment. We have initially acknowledged that policies that we have are good, they are strong, but implementation is weak, coordination is weak. Until we get our minds set on that, we will continue to say the face of poverty in Ghana bears the face of woman. It's a shame.
They also wished women well on the occasion.
All our women in decision making, we appreciate you so much. And we also thank our feeder members, especially our pioneering members who started this great organization. Without you, a lot of women's rights would have been violated.
As we wish all mothers of Ghana a happy Mother's Day, I wish my own mom, who has been a strong, big pillar in my life, she's made all the sacrifices that any person can make for another, for us, her children. I wish Mrs. Agnes Bodo of the EP Basic School in Kisema a happy Mother's Day. Mama, we love you.
We were worse off after the overthrow of my husband as President of the Republic 37 years ago. Those were the words of former First Lady Fulera Liman as she narrates how she single-handedly worked hard to cater for her 7 children during that period. Though she does not regret supporting her late husband to serve the nation, Fulera thinks Ghanaians did not give him the chance to prove himself. Sarah Parko has more in the following report.
Mrs. Fulera Liman, former First Lady of Ghana. During her time as a First Lady, the economy was not stable, but she has successfully raised her 7 children to become responsible adults. Today, we join the rest of the world to celebrate her as a successful mother. After the overthrow and demise of her husband, Dr. Hila Liman, she focused on a tie-and-dye business as well as farming of vegetables to fend for her family. She could, however, not do away with her flowers during leisure. After his overthrow, the late Dr. Hila Liman, as the former first gentleman of the country, could not apply for a job anywhere. According to Fulera, her family went through hardship.
When she wanted to do it initially, I wasn't happy. And I had young children. And he has a good work. He was a diplomat. So why do you risk to leave that and go to a place that you are not sure of? And that's exactly what happened. My fear, it came to pass.
She feels her biggest sacrifice for her children was working hard to see them through school.
After the overthrow of my husband's government, I was the sole breadwinner and it wasn't easy. So running around and doing all, their father was jobless, so I have to provide for the family.
As she ages gracefully, the successes of her children and 13 grandchildren is her joy as a mother.
What else could I have done? I just thank my Lord. They've all made it. None of them is not without masters.
She has a message for mothers and children.
Whatever difficulties you have, whatever you are going through with your children, I will always say that they should be patient and try as much as possible and make themselves available. And when we don't give them that attention, then they try to find the attention somewhere, you know. They need the love and the attention. So if you are always around with them, yes, they are always happy. I also appeal to the children, especially those who have aged mothers. They should be patient with them. Age is a tough thing.
Her sixth child, wife of veteran musician Reggie Rockstone, could not explain in plain words the love they have for their mom.
You would probably not feel the love overtly, but as we've grown, as we look back, we couldn't have asked for anything better. We couldn't have asked for anything more. She was the embodiment of it all, of motherhood.
She did not miss out on the disciplinarian her mom is.
Our upbringing was based on discipline. She was living by the spare the rod and spoil the child, what acronym like that verse. The knock. If you know the knock, you receive the knock. And since we did not want to receive the knock, you would behave.
I tell you, it's a painting.
Happy Mother's Day to all women. First Lady Rebecca Kufour has called on mothers to ensure their children are safe by adhering to basic principles which will keep the family healthy. On the occasion of Mother's Day, the First Lady urged mothers to ensure their children receive all their vaccinations, use treated mosquito nets every night, and exclusively breastfeed their babies for at least 6 months. Rebecca Kufour also asked women to examine their breasts every month and immediately see a doctor when they notice any change in their breast and undertake regular checks for cervical cancer. The First Lady further urged pregnant women to know their HIV status, as with early diagnosis and treatment, babies can be prevented from being infected with the virus. You're also watching a News at 10. We'll be right back with more news. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists are warning that the country's healthcare system risks collapse if laboratory services continue to be neglected. The association has often complained that members are sidelined in decision-making processes at the various health facilities across the country. The association has also been complaining that members have not been placed by government on the correct salary levels since the introduction of the single spine salary structures. And tonight I've been joined in the studio by the president of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, Dr. Ignatius Awimbono. Doc, nice to have you again. I know that your issues have been raging on for quite some time, and the key issue for you is that you're complaining about the absence of a revolving fund. What is the essence of a revolving fund?
Yeah, I will just use an example from the what is currently pertaining when it comes to pharmacy practice. The absence of drugs when you need them or medicines to manage a disease condition is so critical that if it is absent, then virtually the whole care system becomes truncated. Similar to with laboratory services. In fact, the bulk of evidence or even the data in the folder of a patient, close to 70% of the decisions are based on laboratory results and laboratory reports. And what is happening across the country is that we're having protracted and perennial stockouts and interruption to services. And a study was done by CDC and with the Ministry of Health in 2010, prior to 2013, when a policy was being developed for the laboratory. And they noticed that there was no sustainable fund for the laboratory. So essentially the money which is generated in the laboratory goes to a black hole, and it is dipped, the managers of the health institution.
And your association's view is that this is so this and other problems is so because of a lack of a directorate or structure of governance structure for the practice of your profession.
In fact, in pharmacy, the pharmacist has an oversight over this drug account, though it is essentially managed by management. But before any money is taken out of it, the pharmacist has to sign to ensure that it is properly going to be used for the pharmaceutical services. The same must be done for the laboratory. If it is even a percentage, 80%.
But how important is this?
This is, Stephen, this is the critical aspect.
It is the nerve point of what you do.
What we do. Because if at the point you need to retool the laboratories when equipments are wearing out, you need to buy stock to be able to ensure that the services are sustained. You need to ensure that 24 hours you are able to provide a service that is needed before a patient goes into a theater. You cannot say you don't have a potassium test. You cannot run a potassium test when it is critical for every surgery. And this is what is happening across the country. And I'm afraid if as a nation we do not think about these things, we will continue to have a situation where clinicians are managing without laboratory results.
I know your association might sound as complaining, but what kinds of negotiations do you have or have you been having with the Ministry of Health and the various hospitals in connection with some of these concerns, valid concerns that you raise every time?
In fact, there are some isolated institutions that have bought into this idea, and we are having success stories.
Isolated institutions?
Yes.
Which institutions are these?
If you go to Tamale Teaching Hospital, part of the funds, they've agreed with the staff at the lab. Part of the funds is used as a revolving fund where whatever they need, they are able to get it from that particular fund. And when you go, the services are remarkable. You could cross-check from the management of that institution. We've engaged our teaching hospitals, we've engaged the minister on this copiously on many, many occasions with meetings. And it just beats our imagination. Why? We are not ready for transparency. You have a situation where the laboratory NHIS component is just treated as part of a bundle service, OPD service, and no percentage is brought back to fund the laboratories. So it is a problem which we have engaged. In fact, at our last Congress, it was a topical issue, sustainable funding for laboratories.
And governments are not listening? I mean, I'm not trying to focus on only this current government.
These have even been encapsulated in a policy, and it's one of the topical issues in that policy, which the ministry is aware, the Director General of Ghana Services is aware, and the managers of our teaching hospitals are aware.
So why is nothing being done about it?
That is what beats our imagination. And we are saying that if it is our duty to prefer direction and to have best quality care for citizens of Ghana, and we are having these challenges, and these services are for their welfare, if we are having those challenges, we should go back to the public and tell them that these are the challenges.
And you also have concerns about not being properly placed on the salary scale, and it's taking quite a while for that to be done. How far? What's the progress of this?
Since 2012, you have the average technical officer or lab scientist, the chief grade and assistant grade, taking an average of 80% of what a nursing colleague takes. This is not. It beats our mind when we mention these things, and the fair wages and salaries is just adamant.
What's the progress with your interactions, engagements with
the
Fair Wages and Salaries Commission?
We have engaged Fair Wages and Salaries Commission on many occasions, and on all those occasions they have said they call us for re-evaluation, and we have told them we have passed the stage for re-evaluation. Since 2012, the Minister of Health with the management of our health institution had a post-migration committee that we met and defended why we should be paid certain salary grades. A letter was written to that effect, and Fair Wages is simply failing to comply. We are saying enough is enough.
And what's your next line of action? What are you hoping to do if this continues?
If this continues, essentially we're going to withdraw our services. Across the country as we talk, our members are in red bands, across the district, the regions, the teaching hospitals. By the 22nd of this month, we are going to work to rule.
But are you not getting any indications that this government is doing things differently?
In fact, we are not getting it. 15 months down the line, we then met the Minister of Health. And you know what he told us? Have you brought anything new to me? We've engaged him on 3 occasions, official meetings with minutes. We've sent him 3 letters and reminders. And we've sent in 3 communiques. And we're not doing this for our parochial interest. It's actually for the interest of the public. Without laboratory results, you cannot have proper surveillance. I'm afraid, looking at the timing of the strike, we did not plan that Ebola should come or cholera should come. But if this happens, we are going
That's
to be
going to be disastrous for the nation. Right, Dr. Awimbono, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much. Dr. Ignatius Awimbono is the president of the Ghana Association of Biomedical Laboratory Scientists. I'm Stephen Enti. This is still News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda, and Accra. Let's do some other stories now. The Kufour Endowment Fund has been launched in Accra. The fund will be used to support the completion of the Kufour Center for Leadership and Governance at the University of Ghana, and also sustain the work of the foundation in carrying out its programs.
The fundraising dinner is in line with the 80 for 80 campaign, which seeks to raise 80 million cedis to commemorate the upcoming 80th birthday of the former president. Proceeds from the fundraising will go into the establishment of the Kufour Endowment Fund, which will support the completion of the Kufour Center for Leadership and Governance at the University of Ghana, and also sustain the foundation in carrying out its programs in furtherance of the former president's vision for a peaceful and prosperous democratic Ghana, led by leaders of integrity.
I believe that you agree with me that His Excellency deserves at least 2 million cedis for each year. For the 80 years, that will translate to 160 million. It is now my greatest pleasure and honor to formally launch the John Agyekum Kufour Foundation Endowment Fund.
Patrons had the opportunity to experience the vision of former President John Kufuor and his post-presidency achievements being realized through the foundation. These include the Kufuor Scholars Program, which provides transformational leadership training and mentoring for young tertiary students, under which 34 scholars had been trained and mentored since its inception in 2016.
Mr. President of the 80 years this year, and for many Africans, they will be in their house with their grandchildren, with their children, their grandchildren, their family. But he decided to devote his time to help the younger generation of our dear country. Mr. President, we share in your cause, which must be championed by all, irrespective of your political background. Mr. President, you can count on some of us. We need to mentor the younger generation.
President Kufuor noted the foundation has kept his vision alive by developing good initiatives and implementing well-designed projects.
The individuals we're trying to help through the foundation, we hope will become like the yeast that would leaven the bread, so the bread would grow fat for the entire community to benefit, to eat. And for us to sustain this, naturally, I'm doing what I can, but I see it not as just a short-term thing. It must be medium to long-term, and through that, we'll transform our society.
Donations made towards the endowment fund include 200,000 cedis from NIB, 200,000 cedis from Fidelity Bank, 50,000 cedis from ADB, 20,000 from Kasapreku, among others.
And that's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of the crew, good night. There's more news at 3news.com.